Human. I'm human. What are you?
Did we land on the moon or not? I mean, that seems to be a big debate these days because you got, the debate is Matt Walsh says we did, Candace Owens says we didn't. I happen to think that we did because I don't think it's as hard as people are trying to make it out to be. You strap people to a giant rocket, fire them into the sky, and do some math. Maybe I'm crazy. But we do have this story now where signs of life may have been found on a faraway exoplanet. Now, while some people are going to come out and they're claiming it's a big story, and it is getting a lot of traction on the internet, the truth is there's signature signs of life all over the place. That doesn't mean we found life. And I will add, as a total aside, it is funny when like atheists or liberals are like, they may have found life on another planet. Bacteria, I'm like, wait. But what about a baby? That's the argument the pro-lifers make, right? Well, so this is interesting because in this story, they're saying telltale signs, biosignatures, a specific chemical that is typically only present when life exists. And they're arguing this faraway exoplanet is showing these signs. What that may mean is not that there's intelligent life somewhere, but that there may be like microbial life or something. To be fair, though, it's 120 light years from Earth. If they're finding microbial life or signatures of it, there could be other forms of life. Or could this be the beginning of life on this planet? Who knows, my friends? Everybody wants to believe. Now, I got to tell you, the other day we heard Trump's science director, science admin saying, we have the technology to manipulate time and space. I don't know. And as we leave distance annihilated. I've never heard those as turns of phrase, right? Like nobody just says, yo, my new Tesla Model S can annihilate distance. It's like, no one ever says like, yo, I got a new Jag and it can manipulate time and space. It's not. So people are wondering, does the government have these means? And I'm going to add on top of that, if it is true that we actually have top secret time and space technology and weapons, I'll just believe in aliens at that point. Because we've seen all these UFO stories. We've got crazy stories about cities under the pyramids. You got ancient aliens theorists, and the media's lied about everything. So at this point, I'm ready to believe whatever. Not literally, but, don't assume anything. Let me play this. Let me read the story quick for you guys. And then I'm going to throw it to Candace Owens, actually. She makes a funny point, and she's got the classic libs all riled up. Daily Mail says, a distant ocean-covered world teeming with life. The most likely explanation for a new discovery made by scientists who say they detected the most promising signs of life outside our solar system. Using data from the James Webb Telescope, astronomers led by the University of Cambridge have identified huge quantities of chemicals only made by living organisms on Earth. They have picked up the chemical fingerprints of dimethyl sulfide and dimethyl disulfide, molecules that are primarily produced by microbial life, such as marine phytoplankton. They have been detected in the atmosphere of exoplanet K2-18b, which is located around 124 light years from Earth in the constellation of Leo. It's the strongest hint yet of biological activity outside the solar system. The planet is orbiting a red dwarf star in what is known as the habitable zone, considered the most promising location to find life-supporting planets. It's 2.6 times larger and 8.6 times as massive as more massive than Earth. And experts believe it's likely covered in an ocean, making it what they call a Hycean world. That's crazy, man. So they're saying basically this is it. This is the life they think exists on it. Little bitty plants. Okay, I mean, that's cool and all, but doesn't really motivate me much. We want to see creepy aliens with crazy claws emerging from the water and talking or something. They're going to mention the planet's temperature is similar to Earth's, but it's orbiting so close to its star that a year there lasts just 33 days. Earlier observations identified methane and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the first time that carbon-based molecules have been discovered on an exoplanet in the habitable zone. Now, analysis of the new data has unearthed the compounds, which, as far as scientists are aware, are only produced by living organisms. The concentrations of DMS and DMDS in K2-18b's atmosphere are very different than on Earth, where they generally below 1 part per billion by volume. On K2-18b, they're estimated to be thousands of times stronger, over 10 parts per million. The professor of Cambridge Institute of Astronomy led the research, saying earlier theoretical work had predicted that high levels of sulfur-based gases like DMS and DMDS are possible in Hycean worlds, and now we've observed it. But let me tell you this, okay? It's long been speculated that Europa, this is a moon of Jupiter, may have life on it. Why? Well, it's an ice-encrusted planet that they believe there's water beneath the surface. Scientists think Europa has a salty ocean beneath its icy crust with about twice as much water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Water dissolves nutrients for organisms to eat, transports important chemicals within living cells, supports metabolism. Now, here's the thing. We've talked about how Mars doesn't have a strong enough atmosphere to protect organic life on the surface, and it's too cold. But if there's liquid water beneath the surface of Europa, here's a general idea. And I'm just some guy on the internet, bro. Many of you probably know better than me. So it's really cold, right? Because it's far away. It's really dark. This means the water on the surface freezes over, creating an ice barrier, but beneath it, there's water. Why? I've heard that there's not necessarily a rotating molten core creating heat below the surface, but gravitational waves. The gravity of Jupiter causes the planet causes friction and compression, which generates, well, heat. So it melts ice beneath the surface and maintains a stable temperature. The ice crust protects the water below from harmful radiation and from space wind and debris and impacts. So the argument is you don't necessarily need the atmosphere because the ice isn't breaking apart. It's being held together largely by Jupiter's gravity. So there may be life beneath the surface. Who knows, man? Not me, maybe you. But we do have this funny clip. Colin Wright, the classic lib, says Candace Owens is the paradigm case of a person who allowed herself to become so open-minded that her brain fell out. I mean, certainly you want to make arguments against Candace Owens on some political issues or whatever, but let me play the clip for you, which I think is pretty funny. And I also think he's taken her too seriously.
But here's my bone to pick with Matt Walsh. We have a long-running beef on the topic of NASA and moon landings because he thinks they happened. And listen, when the guys did it, it was fake and gay. I'm sorry, Matt, and it's time for you to admit it. It was just as bad. You just weren't alive for it, okay? Homies were on the moon making phone calls before the time of cell phones, like, hey, what's up, Prez?
Well, yeah, it's called a radio, but I don't know. I continue.
Me on the moon with the flag, no issues. First time we've ever flown this thing. Yeah, I don't know. We just got through the belt pretty easily. And until Matt Walsh accepts that the mission in 69 was also fake and gay, I don't care. I can't defend you. Even if I fully agree with you about Gayle King, I won't. I literally cannot defend you. Okay, you must come to terms with the fact that NASA and space missions have always been this fake and gay. You just weren't alive for the original ones, and you need to learn the history of NASA, of the Apollo programs, which were occult and satanic. It was literally meant to be an antichrist movement to make people believe in man.
Okay, well, I don't agree with Candace Owens, but I am going to defend her. Okay?
Fact. I'm going to show you guys. It's like you can look this up anywhere. Look up Jack Parsons and the Apollo program. They just wanted people to believe in scientific advancement. The guy who created the Apollo program was this guy, Jack Parsons. Can you pull up this clip, Skylar? You know, this is from a podcast, the Science History Institute Museum and Library. This is one of their podcasts. And
the sex cult Antichrist who rocketed us to space, part 1. Right? It's like Candace.
You scroll down here,
Science
and
History
I'm
Institute.
probably gonna have to make this bigger for my eyes, but at the top here, you know, Jack Parsons was a brilliant rocket scientist, but he lived a wild lifestyle with a devil may care attitude. He was pretty relaxed about safety and dabbled in drugs, occult practices, and sex cult rituals. It would all eventually catch up with him, though, and quite literally they were throwing these sex rituals, and he believed that he had summoned the devil, and the devil told him that he needed to create a moon child. Next thing you know, they're telling us we made it to the moon. I mean, you got to look into Jack Parsons and the origin of NASA.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say. First, you know, when Colin Wright says she's so open-minded her brain fell out, that's a funny joke. It is like, you're willing to believe anything, your brain flops out from an open mind, whatever. Here's the thing, man. The corporate press has lied to us about basically everything. So when I hear Candace say, my thoughts are based on these facts, I go, well, okay. From what I've read, I disagree, but I understand where she's coming from. A Catholic woman doesn't believe we went to outer space. Okay, whatever. I don't know. People believe a lot of things. And, I learned this very early on at a young age. A lot, like there's faith in all things. These people who believe science is real are taking faith. Sorry, it's a fact. Now, let me explain to you. I get atheists all butthurt when I say this. Look, I've never looked through an electron microscope. And even if I did, I don't even know what I'm looking at. And so how do you know what they're saying is true? It's faith. Fact. Now, listen, I got a cell phone right here, okay? I got a cell phone. And it connects me with information all around the world. The thing is, I've actually built remote control robots. So I got a video on YouTube where I created a remote control robot. Like me and my buddies, we made this thing happen. It's replicable. So when someone says to me, radio waves do this thing, here's how you make it happen, and then I can make it happen, I go, well, that's proof to me. So I take a look at all of modern science. And it's hard to then say, with all this technology and things that I've been able to do, I would just go and say, probably true and correct. Not always. They do lie a lot. I actually, look, I got Starlink. I think there's satellites up there. I've seen them. I got night vision goggles, like real ones. Anybody with night vision knows you look up at the sky, you can see satellites. It's crazy. It's so cool. So I'm of the opinion we go to space. Now, some argue we never gone to the moon because that's past the Van Allen radiation belt, much, much further, and we've only ever accomplished low orbit. Whatever, man. I don't know. Maybe there's a firmament. Maybe the Van Allen radiation belt is the firmament. Whatever. Believe what you want to believe. There is a political argument that the U.S. faked the moon landing because they were in competition with the Soviets and were trying to create a narrative. The U.S. was losing in every capacity. So then they said, we're going to go and do this. Now, that being said, satanic death cults and all that stuff, none of it is fiction. You know what I mean? Like, Candace didn't come out and say that fifth dimensional demons crawled through a hole in space-time and started, throwing alien larvae or whatever. That would be weird. If she said they have magic powers, but there are occult Satanists, like it's a real thing. She was reading an article. So it's not that I agree with her, but I think it's like many of these classical liberals don't understand philosophy of thought and belief and faith structures. And that means some people believe wildly different things. That being said, I played this because the argument was whether or not we landed on the moon. Me? Let me give you my thoughts on this. Very simply. How did we get through the Van Allen radiation belt? They use liquid shields. There's various technologies proposed. And also, they genuinely did not care for the health and safety of the astronauts. I mean, it's a pretty easy one. And so it is reported that astronauts were seeing sparkles on the way to the moon. Yeah, that's when you're getting blasted by radiation, right? And then you can argue, like, how did they survive? Well, I don't know. Like, maybe they did. I have no idea. So then I hear this from, like, Alex Stein and others. Yeah, but how did we lose the technology? Bro, we lose technology all day, every day. It's true. We lost technology. Nobody even knows how they built the pyramids. Some argue that they would put stones down, pour sand on the stones, and then a bunch of dudes with big horns would go, brrr, and it would vibrate, and you could float it across the vibration. That's actually the robot that I built. It was the it was the CanBot. It was a can of green tea, and we put motors on the top of it. And so when you activated the motor, it would spin, causing a vibration, which would make it float across the table. And you could use a gyroscopic stabilization to spin it in different directions. I built it by myself. I don't know. We used to do weird things. That's how they think that. But so we lose that tech. We don't know how it's done. We've got in the 60s, all of this stuff is on paper, put in boxes. You think the government, when they store those boxes after they abandon these missions, knows where those boxes went? And so they're going, what technology do we use to get to space? It's like, I got to be honest, man, we put those in a bunch of boxes, put them in the closet. People forgot about it. Boxes got moved. Nobody knows where they went. Come on, dude. That's plausible. But I don't know, man. We always hear these stories like maybe life or something, but whatever. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Thanks for hanging out on Saturday, friends. I'm just going to do 3 today. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging out. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know, and we will see you all on Monday.